welcome back to High Lord Fox's Garage. I'm your host, High Lord Fox. It's a windy and probably going to rain Sunday, but it's day 3 on engine removal, and hopefully we're going to get it out of here today. So, last thing left for today. I had 2 motor mounts out, and I got to move this to the actual intake manifold. So, hopefully I don't have to take the hood out. So I'm going to get started on that, and Carter Dave might actually go get the thing. Lifty thing. Or not. I might have to go get that. We'll figure that out in a moment. But I'm going to get started on this right now. This has been the start of day 4. I'm sorry, day 3. And it's now the end of day 3 as 2 important things have come to light. One, this is not long enough. And it's starting to rain. So we're going to have to revisit this, and hopefully in a couple seconds for you guys it's going to be day 4 when I have a solution to how I'm going to get this thing out. Might involve a backhoe. We'll see. Stay tuned for the next part right now. And we're back. Day 4, a couple seconds for you, week for me. So we're going to get this hood off, we're going to get all this stuff out of the way, and we're going to bring the big backhoe over, get a chain on it, and lift it up because I can't fit my engine lift in here. So first thing, let's get this hood off and we'll get this out of here and get it over towards the workshop on the actual stand it's going to be on. We have to get the power steering pump out of the way now that the hood is off. So next is the power steering. Remember, when you're taking these off, keep any shims where you have them in the locations so it's easier to put it back on. Store your hood in a safe space, and just be careful so it doesn't slide and hit the car or your windshield, because that's kind of bad. In our case, our windshield's already cracked, but if you have a windshield that's not cracked and your hood slams into it and it cracks your windshield, you just added a couple $100 to your project. So be careful, get a second person or some sort of vertical lift thing to hold it up while you do it. Just be careful, be safe, people. We have our chain hooked up, smaller chain off the engine hoist. It's connected to the front. This has to come up just a little bit to clear the motor mounts, and then we can swing it forward and out. We've got our lifty chain connected to it, and we're going to bring the backhoe around and get all that stuff hooked up to it so we can lift this thing up and out of here. The good news is...
And jumped the motor mounts. The bucket lifted it all the way up.
The other good news is I was going to get a new condenser core anyway. Because it went... Whoosh. As you see that popped forward, I've got a jack holding up the transmission because it was just sitting on the mount. I'll probably drop the transmission later and do seals and all that stuff on it. We underestimated our fulcrum ability, and that's why you usually want to use the engine hoist or a much smaller machine, but we work with what we've got. And the good news is I need to replace the condenser core anyway. Dave said I should take it out, which if I didn't, it probably would have flung even further forward, so, you know, cushion. So we're going to now get this lifted up. We've moved our thing to the center point, and we're going to lift it slightly differently. So here's hoping. And this is the inside of the engine bay. So, what were you saying, car guy Dave?
Well, see, structurally, like, see, they drill in the frames back then. They drill a bunch of holes because the frame was designed to fit a bunch of different motors, 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, whatever they threw in here. So they drill holes for multiple engine mounts on here. So what we got to do is mark ours exactly where it's at, and then knowing that this engine's going back in, and even if you change it to a 350, it's still going to be the same size. So if you ever do up the power on it, you want to weld those holes up and grind them flat so that you fucking strengthen the metal, because this is fucking, you know.
Yeah, and notice that ours are connected on 3 because we have a bigger engine than what the car was ever designed for, a 400 as opposed to a 305. Our motor mounts are forward because as you know, you have a bigger engine, the mounts are further away because there's more bore space, bigger cylinders, so it pushes the mount point closer to the front of the car. But as you can see, that is the transmission bell housing. It is the standard 6. It is not the interchangeable one. So that is, as far as I can tell, a TH350 or something of that nature. Yeah. And you can see the 2 spots where the bell housing pops into, and then the 6 bolt holes around it, and the 3 spots on this one for the torque converter.
Yeah, the ones with more power have 4 bolts in the torque converter.
That is correct, but this is just...
It's a little transmission.
Yep. It's a little bit of a...
You need a 700R4 to throw in here, save overdrive.
Yeah, I would like that, but we'll go... You know what, if I have to put an LS in it, we'll just get the LS thing, and we'll go from there, but...
Yeah, while this is out, they'll put new bushings in the control arms.
Yep. Bushings in the control arms. I'm going to take this, I'm going to pressure wash all of this. I'm going to spray it down with the wonderful Rust-Oleum high temp, even though I don't need high temp, but the rust converter.
POR15 is what you're going to coat the frame in here with.
Okay, apparently
it encapsulates any of the rust and stops it from rusting any further once you get it all cleaned up.
Okay, so apparently I'm putting POR15 in this. I already bought a whole bunch of Rust-Oleum, so I don't know what I'm going to do with it now. I'll spray the hood. I'll do something else. I'll spray other bits of it. But yeah, I got to get this all cleaned up in there. But the next step is we got to move that engine over to the workshop. now the next step is to make that to our engine stand, which we can do actually work on it and get everything off on it. So I don't have it here, but this is basically your bell housing bolt with the hoist. Unfortunately, it is too long. You need something approximately this length. Varies depending on the actual stand you have. So before you take the engine out and get prepared to get all mated, it would be a good idea to find a set of bolts that are long enough and the correct thread so you can put it into the engine, so you don't have to then hunt for them while you have it sitting and hanging here and all that fun stuff. So we're gonna get the bolts on this and we'll be right back. Okay, so the first step is we're gonna put this on the back of the motor now that we have appropriate length bolts. It's much easier to get them ahead of time than it is to find them there if you don't have a massive bolt collection like we do. So put this out. You don't want to run these too far in because you may crack the engine blocks. Make sure they are appropriate length and spacered out as necessary. So we have this all mounted up here. Make sure you have these are adjusted to the right spots. This is a universal. As you can see, it fits a very large number of engines. Now we have this. We're going to put it in here, and it's got a little hole that holds it in place, so you can pull the pin out and you can rotate the engine, which is very useful when you need to work on the bottom or the sides or anything like that. So we have two engine stands so that when we need to actually get to this flywheel, because I'm going to have to replace the stuff on the back end, we're then going to, as I rotate this around, mount it to the front, which is probably what the other engine stand is set up for.
No, we never mounted it. It's just sitting there. I bought that one in an auction. It's just been sitting.
Well, we're going to mount the other one to the front, and then we're going to swap it over with our engine hoist, and then we can work on the back. So yeah, that's it's going to be fun. So the next thing is we got to get this high enough to get it in the hole. So we just took the gun, loosened these, recentered this best we can, and then retightened everything. So it'll be a little bit more on center when we have to go to spin it and everything, so it's not all hanging loose on that. In the meantime, Car Guy Dave has been cleaning and is now lubricating and blocking the way again the engine stand where it spins, so once we get on it we can rotate it without issue. So the next step after all this is prepped is raise this up and get it onto here. May ask, why are we rebuilding this old as fuck old engine that's been sitting for 20 years? Why bother? Why not just go to the junkyard, spend $1,000 and get an LS and drop an LS in this thing? Well, part of it is because I've got a bunch of sentimental nostalgia built into this engine. Back 20 years ago when we first rebuilt this, because this has been rebuilt once before and it's had about an hour of runtime since. But the other reason is my poor timing. It's supposed to be as soon as he popped it off, but I'm a little bit fast as usual.
This
is what the cover looks like inside.
That's the inside of our cover. We know what our motor looks like. This is the inside of our motor. Look at the inside of our motor. This shit is spotless. There's no runtime on this motor since we redid it. It's just been sitting for how many years? 16 years?
Roughly.
We cranked it over a few times over the years, kept the oil pumped up into it, oil inside the engine. There's still, you can see there's still oil up in the top of the rockers here. Everything is nice and shiny. Pretty, no dirt.
Realistically, if it wasn't for the fact we had to pull this engine to fix the freeze plug, we could have just
started up and ran it.
Started up and ran it.
It's rusty looking, but I just got that out backwards. So there's no schmutz in this motor.
Never
So
trust.
we don't have to worry about picking up a junkyard motor that looks like crap. And we have a motor that we know, clean and solid.
So we're going to push this a little bit further so it's not in the way. We're going to get cleaned up and we're going to call it a day. Now that it has been out, we got to put the hood back in a spot. I got to go tarp it up. I got to do a bunch of cleanup crap that I don't need to show you on camera because it's boring. But thank you for coming along with us on this journey. I hope you're excited to see me work on this as I am. And in the coming weeks, I'll be recording my work on this, and we'll get a video on how to rebuild a 400 small block, which is very similar to how to build a 350 or a 305 small block, but with a little bit of High Lord Fox flair. So I'm High Lord Fox. This is Car Guy Dave. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and check out one of the videos somewhere in this screen for more information and for more videos on this project. Thank you, and have a nice day.